Hi, welcome. This is Todd Cornell with the Global Chamber Northern Colorado. And tonight we have our Global Happy Hour with Dr. Joel P. Martin, who's going to be joining us and talking about being globally fearless. So, Dr. Martin, please.
Thank you, Todd. Everyone, I'm expecting we may have some friends of ours from the Global Chamber who are international. And if so, and that's you, if I'm talking to you about like that, please introduce yourself. So here's what I would like to do. I would like to have who's here introduce themselves by your name, something that is related to what you do when you're being fearless. And if you were to take a big leap of faith and go all out of your comfort zone, what is the one thing you would most like to do that would require you to be fearless in these challenging times we're living in? I'll give you a few minutes to think about that. Okay, I'll go first. I am Dr. Joel J.P. Martin. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I am the owner and operator of Positively Powerful Woman Awards and Triad West Incorporated. We're a training, consulting, and coaching company that specializes in diversity, equity, and inclusion and transformational leadership. Now, for my fearless self, what I would do, oh my gosh, I would love, and this is definitely something about the challenging times that we're in, I would love to travel around the world. I've been a lot of places already, but I have not been to Japan. I would love to go to Japan. Even better yet, I'd love an engagement in Japan where I could work. I love my work. And I've been to Australia. I have not been to New Zealand. And I go to Iceland with my daughter. She's a traveler too. So Bob is a painter, so he may or may not go with us. That's my honey. Okay, who's next? Tell us about you, your fabulous self, and what you would do if you were totally out of that. Todd, you go too, okay? Totally out of your comfort zone. Okay, who's ready? Well, Kendra, you're you have to leave, so you get to
Sure. So my name is Kenja Hassan. I work at Arizona State University in the Office of Government and Community Engagement. I have done some form of community relations for ASU for a very long time. So that's why Joelle says I'm Miss ASU, because it's true. If I were totally fearless in this moment and age and date and time, I would gather all of my friends, friends and family and coworkers who have taken a position that they believe everything the media says about critical race theory and other things related to African Americans. And I would, and I'm adding family in here too.
Okay.
So if I had my courage, I would sit my family down and say, look, let's have a conversation about what's really happening here.
Right.
And why you all shouldn't be freaking out the way you are. Why there's not much to fear in this whole thing that is now becoming a contentious issue in a way that it shouldn't. So that's what I would do.
Okay, you would have a sit down and powwow and get things a little straight, a little more harmonious.
Yes, and I said I would do it with friends and family, coworkers, people in my close circle whom I am at present unable to talk with.
Oh, yeah, I got it. That does take courage. Got it. Thank you so much, Kenja, and thank you for your fearlessness in going first. Who's going to go next?
I want to follow Kenja.
Okay.
So mine was really easy. As soon as you said that, it was like, okay, I know what I'm going to say. It's in a way, it's sort of along the same lines. It's our present national viewpoint towards China. I lived in China for over 20 years. I speak the language. I read and write Chinese pretty close to a native. And so it gave me the opportunity to really understand the Chinese people, understand their mindset, their thought process, and the way things are achieved in the Chinese culture. And so the passion that I have is to help bridge the US with China And now with the way things have turned so much on China that they have become our enemy, you know how the United States always needs to have an enemy, and they have now become the enemy that has brought us together. It's the two sides can't agree on anything except China, that China is bad. And so I'm not saying it's good, but I'm also saying that we need to change the way that we're interacting with them, because in the long run, I'm afraid we're going to hurt ourselves more than we're going to help ourselves. And for some reason, it's very hard for the United States just to be nice. And if we as a country don't like a country, we let them know we don't like you, and then we give them a hard time. It is a bully pulpit, and that is not the way to work with China, because the Chinese don't respond and react the way most cultures do. So there is a much more beneficial way to interact with and engage China. So that would be where I'm fearless. I am fearless, but I get kicked down all the time. So right here, even in this organization, so it's a little frustrating, but that is what I would really love to be able to do.
Oh, that would be so awesome. I've done about 5 years of transformational leadership development in Asia, including Hong Kong and Shenzhen. And, you know, hey, I'm with you on creating a bridge of communication and well-being, because there are so many friends that I have there that I worry about. All right. Thank you so much, Todd. Thank you for asking me to speak today. Who's next, please?
I'll go next.
Oh, okay. Whichever one. Okay, Susan, you go. And then,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm Susan Schramm. I am founder of a company called Go to Market Impact. We help CEOs and boards launching aspirational, courageous initiatives to think through the risks proactively so they get results better. And I'm being called into the world of diversity from so many different angles right now. And I really feel like it is becoming a calling. And it's interesting. My first reaction when you talked about fearless was something along the lines of jumping out of a plane or doing all these things that people say are on their hit list. But interestingly enough, based on the last two speakers, I would say courageous conversations it'd be in the faith community, because I feel like I've been called to be a bridge builder in faith community, and to bring people to the table who seem to be not realizing there's a bigger picture. So I really think that courageous conversations is a great place to be fearless.
Okay, tell me what you mean by faith community.
Not only in the faith community of the Christian community, but interact, multi-faith, to be able to work together. And another piece of that is I work in the tech industry a lot. And there's a tendency to just view the faith community as sort of not part of a city. They're like, there's not a lot of comfort. They'll bring libraries together. There'll be city representatives. They'll bring NGOs together. But there's a huge community of faith that do great work that often are sort of in parallel. They don't think of them in one space. So I'm trying to bring the faith-based community to the table, and to have people even consider. And then inside that umbrella is like, hey, we can talk even if we don't agree on everything. So that's what I'm doing too.
That's real. And when I'm traveling, you can bet I'm doing a lot of that. All right. Who's next? Oh, yeah. First T Peaks period. First T Peaks peak.
I didn't change my name, and you're gonna have to bear with me because I'm at the gym, and so I have my camera off because I didn't want to distract anybody with the movement. But let me change my name. I'm Lauren Graziano.
Oh, hi, Lauren.
And I work with Todd at the Global Chamber. So let me just update my name so you guys know what's going on. Great. Okay. And also, I'm so excited that you are here speaking with us. Thank you for coming on. And actually, I would say I kind of relate a little bit to the last input about faith conversations. That one resonated with me a bit. But what I was going to say is, I think right now, like being fearless for me, I think I would quit my job. I do enjoy my job, but it's not what I am truly passionate about. And I'm not finding that fulfillment in there. So I'm looking for different volunteer opportunities where I can find that fulfillment in other ways. But if I was really, truly courageous, I think I would quit my job and pursue something that really makes me happy and that I feel very passionate about. So
Ooh, I'm going to stay tuned and in touch. All right.
great.
I want to know what it is that would, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that my friend Celeste there? Hi. Okay. All right. What Celeste says, I won't be able to participate by talking due to multitasking at work. She is listening to everyone. All right. Very good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, goodness gracious. Who's next? We have the incredibly award-winning Diana Gregory of Gregory's Fresh Market, who's on with us, and Allison Yeager. I don't know you, I don't think. So what we're doing for those of you who have just joined us, it's our name, what our organization is, and if we or when, because here's the thing, the when has to happen, not the if. When we are totally fearless, the action that we will take or the dream that we have to get totally out of our comfort zone. Okay, who's next that chooses to be next? Hey, Doug. Go ahead.
I guess I'll go next. My name is Allison Yeager, and hello, fellow Buckeye. I'm down in Cincinnati. So I am an American culture and communication consultant. So I help Asians understand American culture and communication styles so that they are more effective and productive and ultimately profitable when they are interacting with Americans or entering the US market. And if it was absolutely fearless,
yes,
it would be doing outreach. Outreach terrifies me, and trying to get people and putting myself out there in a way that is like, just let the universe come to me is incredibly, incredibly difficult. So for me, that fearless is just making my business bigger and doing the outreach, even though it absolutely terrifies me.
Well, you have, may I suggest that those of you who choose to just put a connect in there, so people that can connect with you. I'm a connector, obviously. Maybe it's not so obvious, but I am. I love to have good people get together. Thank you so much, Allison. I'd love to know more about what you're doing, and maybe I can support you in some way. Okay. Who hasn't gone? Doug at Global Chamber, my friend. You want to say a few words? Introduce yourself, organization, and being totally fearless and out of your comfort zone. I know that's a big thing for you already because you're already accomplishing so much. What would you do as a totally fearless human being?
That's a good question. I was just in a meeting, and why I'm running a little bit late, we had our Tokyo advisory board meeting, and I laid out kind of, here's the plan. I laid it out somewhat fearlessly. It was kind of hard to lay it out because I'm an American guy. I lived in Japan, but I don't really totally get it, right? So because you can't ever. And so it was hard for me to lay it out because I know it would probably be poked with holes, which they did, but it actually was not as bloody and bad as I thought it was going to be. So I think in general, when you're working around the world, you can be sometimes paralyzed in doing a lot less by fearing that what you're doing is going to be misperceived. But what I try to do is say, look, I don't get it. I really don't, and I'm going to make mistakes. And so that's how I justify it to myself. It doesn't always work, and I make mistakes. The other day I learned in a global chamber meeting that I probably really messed up in a communication that I did with a German. I'm German, and I think I messed up. I don't know yet, but it's something I recognized, at least in retrospect, that I got to be aware that I might have messed up and I might have to do some cleanup. So generally for all of us doing global business, I think it's better to proceed with a good heart and recognize that you're going to make mistakes. And that's what I have to do more of, is to recognize that, there's going to be mistakes, but hopefully with a good heart. Can't be 100% successful, but that's the other thing is, right, perfection is always the enemy of it's not always going to work out. So you got to just step forward and do something. So that would be my thought.
All right, very good. There's one thing that I love that's always been like a mantra for me. We can call something a mistake, and as Allison said, I think it was Allison, it was a learning experience. And the other thing is, it's just something that didn't work. Yep. So that we can say we're bad and we're wrong, or we can say, well, that didn't work. Now, if we can get to that didn't work, what's the other possibility?
And being having the resilience and the flexibility and the ongoing ear, right, to kind of keep your ear to the track. I think one of the things I see very often is people might do something fearlessly and they're moving forward, but they fail to really listen, to the aftermath of whatever just happened. They might want to bask in the glow of success, but sometimes you have to listen to the failures as well and address it in some way. And that is a missing piece to most people, including myself, because we get busy, right? We're already done, right? We're past it.
Yes. Thank you for that, Doug. Diana, do you choose to introduce yourself? I know you've been super busy probably.
I'm actually not able to because I'm in another meeting. So. But I wanted to support you, Joelle. So.
Thank you so much, Diana. I appreciate it.
All right. Okay. So I'm gonna put myself back on mute. Okay.
Okay. And just so that everyone knows, Kendra's going to need to leave early also. All right. So who is that? Thierry? Am I saying your name correctly?
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hello from the summit.
All right, so what we're doing is we're introducing ourselves by name and our organization. And one thing that we would do that's totally out of our comfort zone, when we choose to be fearless. So what would you say?
Sorry, who?
I'm Joelle Martin. And I'm facilitating a conversation on being fearless. I haven't even gotten to my spelling out of that word, but I wanted everyone to get the sense of what it means to be fearless. So what is that to you? What would you accomplish if and when you chose to be fearless?
Okay, sorry, if I understand correctly, sorry, there's a lot of noise. My apologies. I tried to find a restful place in the Salt Palace in Salt Lake. I'm live from the Silicon Slope Tech Summit, so one of the biggest high-tech summit.
I gotcha.
Voilà. So if I understand your question is why I am fearless. This is what I heard.
Fearless, yes.
Fearless, voilà. I'm fearless because we have to sail, we have to convince people, we have to be funny with people, you have to convince people with marketing tools. You have to speak various language because I'm currently surrounded by companies from many countries of the world. You have to be funny. You have to.
You've gotten the F already there.
Voilà, you have to be global. Voilà. So voilà. In French, bon, you probably guess.
Merci.
You probably guess from my accent, my French accent
Yes.
is French Québécois. In French, we have an expression, avoir du culot. Alors, it would be the French equivalent of no complex, you go and let's try it, even if it ends badly. Voilà. So, avoir du culot. So,
all right.
You want to convince this guy to buy your product. You have to differentiate yourself from the others. I have 10,000 people around me. They're all here for selling their products, companies, and things like this. Myself, I'm a freelancer developer for small business. So I'm prospecting the high-tech market here of the
All
American
right.
West. So voilà, so you have to differentiate your look, your way you're speaking, your Muppets, puppets, something like this. Voilà, this is to be fearless. Voilà,
Thank you.
to win the contract.
Aha, well, much success, much success.
Ah.
So everybody has talked about fearless in some way, shape or form, those who are able to. And I'm so happy and appreciative that some of you still attended that weren't able to vocally participate. So when I think of the word fearless, the word F, and I use that word to mean, that word is foundational. It's like, what are the values that are foundational to you? And I will share mine. Mine is family, friends, faith, and of course, being fearless. So F, I hold as foundational. And sometimes when we meet people, we don't always share with them what our core values are. And that's so important. Have you ever been in a relationship and you haven't shared what's important to you? You know, like for me, it's very much about integrity. It's very much about fun, another F word. And I now know that when I am someone's friend, I want to know what matters to them. I want to know their values. And do you know, when we talk about business people don't do very much business with people they are not friends with. All right, so that's my F. Is there any other word that begins with the word F that you can politely say on this wonderful call here that would contribute to the conversation of fearlessness? If you know, okay, great. Well, I'll go on. The E is for me is to be engaging and empowering. And Susan, you'll love this one. When I think about the word engage, I go to my diversity, equity, and inclusion practice. 20 years doing this work. I love it. And I had the pleasure and privilege of working with one of my clients today. And we were talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And coaching, it's about being engaged with people. And that is so important when we think of the concept of fearlessness. If we're not engaged with someone, it's like they're talking and we're not listening. They're just talking and really looking to make an authentic connection in many cases. And when we don't listen, when we are not engaged, it can always get in the way. And people can tell when you're not engaged. So it's a sign of respect to engage, to listen. That's my E word. Empowerment is always an E word for me. That's part of my transformational leadership. My A word is about alignment. Many people think about alignment as only a business concept, but I'd like to address it in two ways. There is alignment from a business context. And I have a quote that I would love to read to you. I found this quote and it just resonated so much with me. I share it with my friends, my clients, and so on. You're either a friend or a client. Okay. So a key concept of alignment goes like this. When a business is in alignment, that means that all levels and players, that means all stakeholders in the organization are clear about the organization's purpose. And purpose is, and just to take a little sidetrack on that, purpose tells us why we exist. And each one of you in sharing of your fearlessness, that's identifying a reason for you on why you exist, your personal purpose. And when I'm coaching a client, I'm saying, okay, if you weren't here, what would be missing? If I'm talking to a company, if your company no longer ceased to exist, what would be missing in the world? And for you, Kenja, if there was no ASU, all that international work you're doing, all that multicultural work you're doing would not exist. Can you imagine how the world would be if each one of you were no longer present? That defines your purpose. Let me continue back with this quote. All the stakeholders are clear about the organization's purpose and make decisions in accordance with that, which means that their strategies are on point. Their strategies are aligned. There's a very different concept called mind control or of one mind. Alignment has people be totally in ownership and responsible for their jobs, for their relationships, for the strategies that they put forth in any DE&I program. So, and those decisions are made in accordance with the overarching vision. Now, here's where we really, for me, I took the gulp. Like, oh my goodness, I love that so much. The company's resources, strategies, management systems, and communications illuminate the purpose so brightly that it is unmistakable. So brightly that it is unmistakable. And that's the essence of alignment. And if you can imagine, there's company A and company B. Company A, everything is going along. They defined their strategies. It's running like a well-oiled machine, you know, because organizations are like cars in a way, you know, they are going from point A to point B, getting the results that they want. And when a car is out of alignment, there's overcompensating, there is rattling, there is a lack of confidence in how that car is going to run. The same thing is true with organizations. The only thing is many organizations don't even realize it because they haven't approached what alignment is. On the other side, let's say you have an organization where people are out of alignment. People are doing their own thing. They're not strategic. They're just kind of complacent, lacking the energy and the firepower to get in alignment. Here's the thing about that. The A word doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means they have an opportunity to get in alignment. So when you're coaching your clients, when you're thinking about your own well-being in these crazy, challenging times, are you in alignment? Are you in alignment with your core values? Are you in alignment with your highest purpose? Are you in alignment with your relationships? And are you in alignment with your own well-being? You know, when we had these trainings, there's a ground rules that we all abide by to be the best that we can be in that training or that game, whatever. And the ground rule, the last ground rule that I have been putting in because of the crazy times that we're in is be kind. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. In this time, we must grant grace. You know, we must grant grace to ourselves and each other and take those well-being breaks. So we've gotten the F, the foundation, E, the empowerment and engagement, the A, the alignment, and the R is real. Just be real. Now, of course, I have real being relevant, empowering, alignment, a leader, you know, but it's my R word. Relevant is really important now, is to have those conversations with others and to find out really what's going on with them, particularly when we start talking about culture and we start talking about gender and we talk about the other dimensions. What is relevant for those people that we're talking to, with, working with, and so on and so forth? If we don't know, how can we really, you know, have belonging, folks? Now, we talked about the communication, about the bridge building for you, Todd, for you, Susan. I remember you saying that. So building the bridge is all about being relevant to those human beings that we're talking to. And likely you all know the golden rule, right? Do unto others as I would do it, as I would have them do unto me. And there's another rule, excuse me, and it's called the platinum rule. Do unto others as they would have you do unto them. That's being relevant. That's being relevant. And Todd, when you started talking about China, and you said that there are certain ways of being that don't work, and there are certain ways of being that do. And the one R word that I think can work with the different cultures that we have is respect. we must respect our people, those we agree with and those we do not agree with. So F-E-A-R-L. When I get to the L word, I said, you know, being fearless is not about being less anything. Being fearless is about being more of who you know you are, being more of your essence, being more of your true self. And oftentimes we forget that. And I will share with you a transformational model. It's probably one of the oldest models that I use, and it's not my, except that I say it with such passion because I really believe that it works. So if you can imagine, there are any number of events that happen to us in our lives, and these events trigger our beliefs. And I'll give you an example, a personal one for me about an experience that I had. And our beliefs trigger our emotions, and our emotions trigger what we say and do, which goes to our consequences. And we keep doing what we do for a reason. Now, when we were those tiny babies, you know, those wonderful little ones walking around, eating candy or doing whatever, being fearless, being curious, and so on and so forth, we were pretty straight. But as life went on and we grew, the events that happened in our life started triggering beliefs that we needed to change, that we needed to change who we decided we were, and we became less of our true selves, if it may use that word, okay? So here's the thing, my example is this. I remember when I was 8 years old and I was given the assignment. And those of you who have heard me speak probably know this story very well. I was very excited to read this poem because my mom was a poet and a writer, and she always read and decorated her writings, little great pictures. So when I went home and I told my mom that I was asked to write a poem, to originally write my own poem, and I did. And it was that first burst that I had, E, enthusiasm, E, empowered. Oh my gosh, it was so exciting to me, you know, being asked by my teacher, and I had been taught, you mind your elders, Joelle. And I was a good little girl. So I went to school, all 8 years old. I had these two little ponytails. Well, bunny ears, my daughter would call them. And I stood in front of my class and I read my poem. From the back of the room, I hear the words coming from my teacher. And my teacher said, "Who wrote that? I know you didn't." Now, I was a brown girl in a predominantly white school. So at that time, I had no idea about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. You know, I didn't learn about that until I was grown and went to college and so on and so forth, some 20 so years ago. But you can imagine how I felt as a child. Can you imagine the fear I felt when I was sitting in class and I needed to stand up? No, because the event happened where I, with good intentions, wrote my poem, and the event was those harsh words that person said to me. The belief that started from that point, my friends, was I'm not going to write. I'm not going to raise my head. And I have to say this, I was filled with shame, because if he was an adult, he must know, because I had been taught mind your elders. So beliefs triggered my emotions. My beliefs rather triggered my emotions. I did not feel great about learning, did not feel the consequences are self-fulfilling. That's how habits get built. So now here I am. I have graduated from the Ohio State University, rah. I have earned a master's in psychology. All of this is because of the profession that I'm in now. And I've earned a PhD in communications. And I'm a member of the Wharton Fellows program, Wharton Business School. Now, here's the thing about transformation. I wish there were a T word, but there isn't. There was a reason that I was able to go back and conquer my fear about going back to school, being fully grown, having owned an agency. The truth of the matter is, I was willing to go through my fear because there was some vision I was in alignment with that was bright and shiny and a future that I was so passionate about. I passionately wanted to be a world-class transformational trainer. So you go through the eye of the needle, folks, when you're really that fearless person, Allison, Susan, Diana, Celeste, me, Doug, Thierry, Lauren, when you really want to go through that eye of the needle, you find a vision on the other side that is so potent and bright and shiny, and you align with that because that's about your purpose and it's burning bright, bright, bright for you. So I went back to school, even though the fear was, oh my gosh, I'm all grown up. My kids starting college at the same time. All right, so that is the model that I use. And I've gotten to the point now where I love stretching. Susan, you know about stretches. We need to make an ACEs. All right, so L, not that we are ever less, folks. Never less. Always be thinking of yourself as the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. Extraordinary is the E word. We each have within us and with those that we surround us the possibility of taking the ordinary and making it extraordinary. I heard, Doug, you used the word perfection. Yeah, perfection is not the game that we're in when we're living fearlessly. It's excellence, excellence. You know, and Maya Angelou said, one of my sheroes, Dr. Maya Angelou, you do, I want to say it perfectly, but I will say it with excellence. All right. You do what you do, and then when you learn better, you do better. So all of us are learners, lifelong learners. I love that. So I have the F.E.A.R.L.E.S S, extraordinary. S is self-sufficient, sustaining, sustainable organizations, sustainable legacies and dreams. That's what I'm building now. And the next S is to be supported. And we've got about 20 more minutes left. And I wanted you all to know that I am here to support you in being your fearless self. I absolutely love working with people who are interested in transformational leadership, who are committed to creating a diverse, inclusive, and world of belonging for all people. And that's the connection, that's the intersectionality for me in my life between TL, transformational leadership, diversity, equity, and inclusion, because the work that I do, I use whatever tool that I have learned in my 20, now 30 years of experience to create the lives and businesses that are transformed such that they are better. And when I look back on my life, that's really always been the game that I've played. We have about 42, we're at 442, and I'm very respectful of people's time. I told you integrity is one of my core values. Comments, questions, I open it up to you. I've gone through many of the fearless letters that I live by, and I would love to hear from you. What are your takeaways, and what would you like to share from your personal experience?
I'd like to pull on the thread of alignment because it happens to be something I'm working on quite a bit. And I think it's interesting because we all know that when tires are out of alignment, it just, you don't drive as well. But it's interesting when people are out of alignment, a lot of that seems like compromise when people have to get into alignment,
When they
and
get into alignment.
in other words,
sometimes-
when people aren't in alignment,
Oh, got it.
you can,
Okay.
it feels like you're driving a car with bad tires, right?
Mhm.
But the process of going from not aligned to make you as a team more more brave, more courageous to do things.
Mhm.
What do you find works best to do that part, to bring people from very disparate points of view? And
Mhm.
whether we talked about the examples we talked earlier about, whether it's families or whether it's teams at work or whether it's communities or churches or whatever,
Mhm.
getting people from different points of view, you always feel like, what can we agree to? You know, let's start with what we can agree to. But when you go beyond the few things we might be able to agree to, and we try to bring people together, it's sometimes somehow there seems to be loss because I'm giving up something and the other person isn't, or whatever. What are your thoughts as far as
Right.
helping
I hear
people get
you.
aligned?
Yeah. Is there one of the things that I do is I want to know what the vision is. You know, what is the vision? Where are you going? Where are you going in your life? Where are you going in your business? And then alignment sometimes happens because organizations aren't living the vision that they say matters to them. So having those kinds of authentic conversations. And you know, also, Susan, when you were speaking, that the thought came to me, stories.
Stories, yeah.
Stories create alignment within groups. One of the tools that I use to start stories going is the diversity dimensions. And basically it's a 4 concentric circles. And the innermost circle is essence and personality. And the next circle out are those things that we are born with: gender, race, etc., so on and so forth. And anybody, if you just say, just send me a little note, yes, I'd like to see the diversity dimensions, I'll send it to you. The next one is the things that the next third circle out is those things that we learn or we acquire by agreement. For example, many of us are lifelong learners. I tend to think everybody on this call is a lifelong learner. We are in various stages of our relationships. We may have changed jobs. We may have changed countries where we live. Those are the things that we choose to change. Then on the next ring are those things about organizational dimensions. And then the final one is one that I am using now because it didn't exist when this model was invented in 1990 or so on. And seriously, it's been a while. I include globalism. We are such a, the conversations that we are having are so global nowadays. I mean, that's why I joined the Global Chamber, Doug, you know that. So anyway, diversity dimensions, and they're just a great way to start telling stories. One of the processes that I've been doing with this one client is and I've done it with others. I go through and I introduce the dynamic, the models. And I say, what I would love to do is have each person let us know one thing about one of those dimensions you're really proud of. And I will say, you know, I'm very proud of my education because my family, we didn't have a lot of money, but education was very important to us. And what you notice is in the chat message, people will be saying, yeah, I do that. Yeah, exactly. And then there are people who are very proud of their children. Oh, yeah. And so what you're looking for, Susan, are very general ways to create a common ground. You know, we do crucial conversations, the blue pool in the middle. That's what we're doing when we create alignment. And then once they're that place, one of the things that I love to do, I'll give you another one and I want to open it up for someone else. I ask them, I do a stand in the future process. And the stand in the future process is as though it's happening right now, what would you accomplish in 2025? And I want you to talk about 2025 as though it's really here. And when you start using that concept with an organization, that makes strategic planning so much easier for them.
Yes.
Okay, so does that help at all? Is that useful?
Yeah, that's very helpful and timely. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thoughts, concerns?
how do you apply this on a daily basis? You know, who do you work with typically? That's my question. And as I'm listening to you, especially the last several minutes, I'm reminded of something someone said in a global chamber meeting this week. There was a mental health session with Global Chamber London. I don't know how many here might have listened to that, but there was a lady who started out, and this really resonated with me. She started with a slide that said, "Healed people heal people."
Yes.
And it occurs to me that you are a healed person. You've lived a life and you've had all sorts of experience, but you found you've been healed, you know, inside. And your reference to global people, I think, tend to be more enlightened and open and relatively more healed than others for whatever reason. And I'm wondering, first of all, who do you then deal with to help them get there? And then is that part of it, that you've wrestled with a lot of these issues yourself and become
Oh,
healed?
absolutely, Doug. Absolutely. From abuse to being homeless. And it's all, you know, I go back to that model that I was talking about. It's all about what we have, like there are these things that happen, you know, breast cancer, going and so on and so forth. And it's not the event that has the power. It is what we have decided about the event. It is the attitude that we apply to that event. And once we get that a belief is something we hold to be true and we act as if it is, key thing, it's not true. It is not the fact, like gravity. You know, when we can make that separation and say a belief is something I hold to be true and I act as if it is true, but is it true? No. Well, if it's not true, what do I choose to believe about that event, that person, that group that is going to get me where I want to go into, from the ordinary to the extraordinary? So I tell you, I went through a transformational leadership program maybe in 1986. And at the time I was the president and owner of my own full service ad agency. And I walked in there arrogant as can be. You know, why am I doing this? Well, I learned because I found my true passion there. I found I had several cathartic experiences where I got to clean it out. You know, we as human beings, what we do is that we will hold on to the stuff that's not working longer than we hold on to the stuff that does. You know what I mean? So one of the things that I advise people is clear your friendships, if quote unquote friendships. If you got anybody who's toxic amongst your friends, find some new friends. The other one, give first. Be a contribution first. You're like that, Doug. You know, when I was starting out in this program, one of the things that I would do is that when I was down in the doldrums, you know, like, oh, life is, oh, whoa, all that stuff, I'd say, okay, Joelle, go find somebody and make a difference with them. And I would feel better. And it was amazing to me. That's how, that goes back to that expression, heal people, heal others. Broken people break others. Do you know what I mean? So when it's like, you got to catch yourself. You know, one of my questions for DE&I is, how will you work with someone you don't like? Because that's all about beliefs too. You know, oh my goodness. Am I rattling on? It's 4:53. Okay. Does that help out at all, Doug?
Powerful thoughts. Yeah, no, that helps a lot. I'll leave you with one more phrase that one of our Indian partners sent to me by WhatsApp this morning. I posted it on my Facebook page. He said, if you want your joy and happiness to multiply, then try to give it to others.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
Must be a famous quote, because otherwise, I mean, that's pretty profound, isn't it?
Yeah, give it away.
Thank you for giving it away. We really appreciate it.
Doug, I want you to meet Susan Schramm. She is not a member of Global, but I think you two should talk. Rather, let me say, she's not a member of Global yet.
I can tell.
It's a wonderful organization. I
I
met
wanted
some.
I wanted to continue the previous conversation
Please, Todd.
about giving. Giving is the one thing that I learned how to do when I lived in China.
Mhm.
And I know just the mention of the word sometimes turns people's stomach, but in all honesty, the Chinese people are wonderful people. And we have so much that we can learn from them. And that's something that I learned from the Chinese, was how to give, because they'll give something to you if you just walk in their house and say, that's neat, I really like that. They'll just pick it up and give it to you.
Yeah.
It's an experience that I was shocked by, because in my culture, we tend not to give, we tend to keep and to hold on to things and feel that there's some sort of a special connection with the thing, rather than recognizing the connection that's created by giving the thing away. And so I've found that giving in so many different ways is actually more fulfilling than getting. It's better to give than to receive. I think, I don't know where that comes from, but I think we all know that saying. And it's a hard thing for people to do who are living in a culture that gives a sense of entitlement. And sometimes we feel that we deserve things when in actuality we don't really deserve anything, you know. And so when we are able to give things away, I think the Navajo are a good example of that too. The Navajo culture, they're people who give things away as a tradition. And I don't know very much about it, but I just know that that's something that they do. And I think that there's a lot of power in giving. There's less
I
power in
agree.
receiving.
That, by the way, that phrase, Todd, is from the Bible. It's Acts 20:35. It's better to give than to receive.
True.
So the Bible is multicultural.
Absolutely.
Bible. All right, everyone. I invite you to, I'm going to do my little quick screen share now. Okay, wish me well, Todd.
Oh, Susan, she just texted something that I also wanted to mention.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I got introduced to this like a week or two ago, and I've been using it all the time. The go getter, go giver thing. Maybe Susan it was somebody wrote a book, right, to talk about go getter is a common thing, I think, in the Western culture for sure. Be a go getter, right? Go get stuff.
All right, yeah.
Go giver is somebody that's going everywhere and giving. Right. And somebody wrote a book, I think it's an American, and I've heard it's really good, and I love the concept. Susan, are you still
it's very it is a book, and it's a whole actually community now.
Wow.
And I'm blanking on the gentleman's name, but just Google it. But what's interesting is back to this idea of where do we come from in terms of our motive. And it's done in an allegory of a person who's trying to get something, and he's not successful, and he meets these really powerful, influential people who all recognize that by giving, actually it comes back to you. And it really is a very humble attitude about our role in the world in terms of service to others, actually has really powerful implications. So I heartily recommend it. And there's also another one called Go Giver for Sales, for those of you who are uncomfortable with promotion. I think the comment earlier was it's so uncomfortable to go and do outreach and sell yourself. But there's a whole angle on it of Go Giver Sales. You come from a point of view of service. It's just a comfortable way.
Great.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, hello, my friend. I'm glad to see you there. Hustle, Phoenix. Oh, can I just ask each person if they would, before we close up, one word to acknowledge yourself for being here today? What one word for me is, I just feel fearless, and I'm so honored to have been able to spend time with you here in the Colorado Global Chamber. I look forward to being in service to anyone who chooses to have a quick call or what have you. Anyway, that's my word for it. Who's next?
I think I would say surprised. I just kind of pleasantly surprised with how much of what people were saying resonated with me, and how relatable a lot of what everyone was sharing was. And I just love that we're able to have a group that comes together and shares those things, and you have that. So
Thank you, Lauren. Allison,
I
you
just was
wanna-
surprised by the idea
Oh.
that humility and fearlessness seem to have such a correlation. To be fearless also means to have a sense of service and humility at the same time. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, wonderful concept. Thanks for adding that, Susan. That's great. I love that. Allison, do you choose to say anything? Okay. I was remembering what the fearless you would be doing, so I just thought I would invite you to that to say something to us. All right, Doug.
I never equated giving as something that people would be fearful of. I never thought of that as one of the reasons why they don't, right? They're afraid to give because they might be rejected or they might be never get something in return. And just the fearlessness of giving, right? Of like no expectations. I just want to give because I know that it's the right thing to do and it makes me feel good. I never equated it to fear before, but I think that's probably part of the reason why everybody's trying to protect what they have, right? Like, you know, and so that's really sad. And we need more people that are healed like you. Thank you for sharing today.
Well, all right, everyone. Good night. Have a fearless evening. Much love, much joy.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Namaste.
bye, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.